He's a former two-term Texas state representative, former Texas Freedom Caucus chairman, and a retired Fort Worth PD officer, continuing his crusade to defend and protect the Constitution for we the people. Welcome to the Mike Lang Show.
Today on the show, we have Republican primary candidate Wes Virdell in Texas House District 53. Now, Wes, you had a hard fight at the primary. Andy Murr, who had been in the Texas House for, maybe 10 years? And I tell you what, you did great. I think he bowed out because you got in, and you were a very strong candidate. Can you tell us about the campaign?
Yeah, it started off. This is not the first time we ran against Andy Murr, but anyways, we ran against him again. He had just basically they had just impeached Ken Paxton on the House side, and then it was going to go to the Senate side. And we had worked with Ken Paxton's office pretty closely. He's been great on guns. He's I think he is the best attorney general, fighting for a lot of things, but especially for our gun rights. And Murr decided to be the lead guy of trying to impeach Paxton. So I ended up jumping in the race to challenge him. I thought it was wrong what they were doing. We ended up campaigning against him for about 5 months, and Dave Phelan, the current Speaker of the House, paid about $15,000 for a very extensive poll for Murr in the district. That was November 15th, and the very next week, Murr dropped out of the race. So we think that the poll came back bad in Murr's favor. And he was about to face a statewide censure. He ended up being censured after that by the state Republican Party of Texas, which is pretty amazing that happened. And then within 4 hours of Murr dropping out, we found out that they had already recruited another guy to replace Murr, and they threw about $1 million behind that guy, and it still was not enough to overcome. We were very strong. We ended up with 61% of the vote in the primary.
That's huge numbers. 61% is great. Now, Hatch Smith was your opponent, and he was the establishment guy. But you have to realize that Andy Murr, folks, he was one of the lead people in the House that was set to impeach General Paxton. And we had a show or two about that and showed what a sham that was. So, Wes, we're glad you stood up. And you came in, you campaigned, you did a great job. And moving forward, as you get into the November election, you do have a Democrat, but your counties, I believe there's 16 of them, you're looking at, 70 or 80% Republican?
Yeah, I think it's about 80% Republican. One of the kind of interesting things about the district, so 16 counties, it's the size of West Virginia. We have the largest geographical district in the state of Texas. And something really neat is most Republican primaries generally have about 20,000 voters in those primaries. We had almost 40,000 primary voters this election. So it's pretty wild how many Republicans we actually have in our district. Very strong Republican district. So voters are going to hold me accountable if I don't keep my word, which I do plan on keeping my word.
Well, I bet you will. I've known you from the past, and you're a very conservative person. But let's get back to kind of your background. You were in Austin last session most of the time, and you were doing Gun Owners of America, correct?
Yep. Yeah, I lobbied for I'm one of those bad words, a lobbyist, but I'm required by law to be a registered lobbyist, and we were pushing for a lot of gun bills. Uvalde had just happened, in May of 2022. Right. I got brought on as the state director in July of 2022. And my first job was going to the committee hearings for the Uvalde. They did an investigation committee through the Homeland Security side of it, and went to all of those committee hearings. We were told at the beginning of session, don't expect any pro-gun bill to pass this session because of Uvalde, and expect some anti-gun bills to pass. We ended up killing 152 of the anti-gun bills that were filed. There was basically 152 anti-gun bills filed. So we killed all the anti-gun bills, and we passed 6 pro-gun bills.
That was part of your platform as far as guns. Now, working on the border, what do you expect to happen on the border?
Yeah, so this was something that came up, which you've been there, Mike. You were a state rep. When somebody makes a point of order, the parliamentarian can accept that, or the speaker accepts it, and then they can kill a bill through that point of order. We had House Bill 20, which was on the House floor. A Democrat made a point of order the parliamentarian ruled that it's a good point of order. And to point out, the Democrat or the parliamentarian is an Obama attorney that they hired as the head parliamentarian, which is pretty wild for a Republican-controlled House.
Most definitely.
And we had, so it requires 10 legislators to challenge a point of order to keep the bill moving forward. We have about 85 Republicans in the House right now, and only 6 guys were willing to step up to challenge that bill. So that means that all the other Republicans were willing to let that bill die at that time, which is pretty sad. Overall, we saw this happen multiple times throughout the session where a Democrat would make a point of order, or the bill would get killed. And the most we ever saw, besides those 6 at one time, was generally about 3 Republicans challenging it. So I think this session is going to be hugely different coming up, because we're going to have many Republicans that have won their races, that have taken out incumbents. They all understand that concept, and that we're going to need everyone to challenge those points of order to keep our Republican priorities moving forward.
I think you're right. I think a lot of new Republicans will be coming in that are much more conservative than their counterparts. And, you could thank school choice for that, and how Governor Abbott's gone out into the primaries and gone after some of these Republicans. So as school choice goes, what do you think about that?
Yeah. Speaking of Abbott and the school choice side of it, like, it's pretty wild. Like, he made that his single subject for the elections, and they took out a lot of incumbents. It's pretty crazy how that happened. But as far as school choice goes, I'm a Milton Friedman guy. I believe that when you have competition among industry, in the free market, you have businesses competing against each other. They're trying to do the best they can to attract the customers. The same thing's going to apply in schools. When you have schools competing against each other for those students, those bodies in that school, I think you're going to see an improvement. And you go look at Arizona and Florida. I think they're now the number 1 and number 2 ranked public education or schools. I can't remember exactly what the category is, but in public school rankings across the country, you have Arizona and Florida now ranked number 1 and number 2, which have school choice right now, or voucher program. And so I think that you could see Texas take a turn for the better there. The really kind of thing that we're watching for is, what is the language going to look like? Because in theory, school choice is great, but we're going to be curious who's going to try to pack something in there and make it bad, or actually try to kill the bill through, bad amendments or whatever else. So that's where we're going to be really paying attention to make sure that we are still enabling what school choice is supposed to be, and not just making something really terrible, which I don't think is going to happen, but we still got to keep an eye out for it.
Right. I don't either. And with people like you down there looking at these bills and reading the bills and knowing how they actually get through committee to the floor, I think you'll do a great job. Now, you still have to get through the general election, but in your area, like we said, I don't think that's going to be a problem. And in closing, Wes, first, thanks for coming on the show. And second, I know you're going to do a great job down there. Would you like to add anything else before we go?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I don't know if you remember this. You gave me an AR-15 magazine back around 2020, and it had your logo engraved on it. And I remember seeing that. I was like, this is awesome. I still have it sitting in I have a toolbox with a lot of magazines in it, and it's sitting in that deal. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate that you did that. And then since then, I've done the same thing. And, I have magazines with my name engraved on it, our GOA logo, and those kind of things. So I really appreciate that you did that. And I think you served well when you were there. And I hope to do the same when I get there.
Well, thanks a lot, Wes. And hello to the family, Sarah and the family. And take care, and we'll have you on again.